All right, let's get into it. And then we'll go with the flow. Okay. Yeah, today more play, but I'd like to focus on starting with the surroundings and the shadows. And so on the reference photo that I sent out to you, I digitally cut out the vase. So I'd like to start with that reference and completely ignore the flowers. Okay, so we'll get into painting all the negative space to begin with. And my plan, because it is a plan, I do know that it will influence how we do the flowers. I mean, the alternative is to do the flowers first and then the surroundings. But what about we flip it, switch it, and see how we react to that? So when we're getting into the shape of the cast shadow, I will demonstrate and talk about, again, using some funky tools, staying in a place of observation and reaction to what the paint is doing on the paper, because we're really looking at just shape and value, and lost and found edges and soft edges and hard edges, and just like really thinking about the shape and what that looks like in color and size. And then we'll get into the flowers at some point.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, we're starting with the vase and the flowers. What we're starting with is behind it, not the shadow that's in the photograph.
So we'll, sorry, I should have spotlit Christine. And welcome, Laura, darling. Welcome, welcome. Just going into the project steps. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So this reference that I sent out,
got it.
Is all cut up in pieces. So we've got the vase on its own, which we're going to ignore for now.
Okay.
And then we'll look at these two. This is the photo.
Yep.
But I've taken out the flowers. And so that's actually like a cutout.
Okay.
So that we're just going to focus on the negative space around the flowers.
Okay. Not the negative space in the flower and the vase.
Not yet.
Okay, not yet.
What size are we aiming for?
So what size?
Yeah, paper.
I put out a 12 by 12.
Okay. Yeah.
This reference here is what I consider a no-tan.
Right.
And that is, beyond a grayscale. So it's just your lights and darks to really help us abstract and focus on our color choices, which are, this is a very simplified color swatch of what's in here. There is a dark blue, there are light magentas, there are variations of each of these.
Yeah.
But we can see that it's kind of like a primary palette, it's nice. I actually quite like the palette and I might stick true to it. So the colors that I pulled out, and I figured I'd use acrylics because then I can use them like a watercolor if anyone was into that to start. And then acrylics move really well with tools. So I pulled out the colors that are swatched here.
Cool.
And I do have some others off, like I have white to lighten. I do have some yellow, like a brighter yellow, just for when we get into the details. But to start, let's keeping it simple for that. I don't always do these little color swatches, but I've had feedback that they can be helpful. And what I'm actually doing digitally is taking literal swatches from the image. So it's like you can't go wrong if you're trying to color match for your reference. Again, not promoting technology, but sometimes it can be really helpful that way. So just in case you were wondering how I came up with that. Okay. So, yeah, I was gonna, like, there was a whole bunch of, just want to like have a mini conversation because I've been so focused on process lately. And I think I might in the fall go back to absolute basic, here's a project class. And I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but in the industry, they're often called cookie cutter classes, where it's like, this is what we're going to do step by step. In a way, that's sort of how I planned this out today. But in the spirit of talking about intermediate and you planning your own projects when you're working for things that are meaningful to you, I would have loved to have done a still life, just like we did in our second class. I would have loved to have asked you to put the time into getting a bouquet, or it can even be a plant, and then setting up a light source and trying your best to create a spotlight.
Yes.
And yet, you know, it's not that that's any easier when you're in a classroom with a group in person. And I don't think it's any harder on Zoom and everyone doing it individually, but there is something nice about finding a reference photo that I knew had all the right elements compositionally. Mm-hmm. So this hopefully gives you an example that when you do set yourself up with a still life, that you're still trying to frame it so that you have all those right compositional elements. Something that's off center, there's enough room for the shadow. It's not like it's off the page. The shadow is the focus. So the amount of space dedicated to the vase and the shadow are pretty equal here. And it's why I chose the reference photo, which, by the way, is Creative Commons. It's from Pexels, PEXELS.com, which I have been going to use. I mean, there's tons of them out there, but I find Pexels to be less time of me searching for things and more time painting, which is the goal. Yeah. So, yeah, so that's important to me, that you're thinking about, when I put together these references and color swatches and all of that, that it's to inspire your planning and how you can customize that for yourself. So may I ask the media of everyone's choice? And so Brenda, if all I have is your voice, can I just start with you and ask what you've put out for today?
Acrylics on watercolor paper.
Hey, we're twins. Thank you. Carol, what did you put out today?
I've got acrylics out, and I haven't decided whether the watercolor or the acrylic paper. Mm-hmm. Probably the acrylic paper because of the heaviness. You know, the weight is more. I'll be able to maybe do more with it before it falls.
Let's say, because I considered that as a really great consideration, is if you're using tools and you're scraping and pulling and layering, you do want something to have substance. So, or texture. I initially grabbed a canvas board, which I do like. I mean, it's a square canvas board. It's nice. But then I found this piece of handmade paper that I thought, you know what, the texture on it is more like cloth, and I have not really used it, and it's a nice thing to react to. So when you're considering your surface, it's about all of those things. Yeah. Christine?
I have a gently used board that was painted on and gessoed over, and an acrylic.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Laura, what did you put out today?
I have the liquid acrylics and a mixed media paper.
Fabulous. Oh my gosh. Great. This is great. Okay, so I'll just put out my acrylics here. The colors that I showed you, plus a sepia or just a brown, like a burnt umber or something. And then I put out 2 whites. I put out titanium white and an unbleached titanium.
Mm.
For what it's worth, if you want to simply mark, and I mean it's very, very simple, where the vase is to avoid it, that's okay. A lot of the time I suggest against that, and I'll encourage just to go in and allow you to measure it out as you work. I think there's so much value in that. One of the biggest reasons is that once you make a line, you want to stay within it, right? As soon as you do that, your brain starts thinking differently. So one of the best bits of advice I was ever given in an ink class is when you have to sketch something in, is to at least do that loosely, so that you're not bound between like the coloring book lines. So if I mean, it's okay to do this. You don't have to, but it's kind of nice to know that you mapped it out a bit. I know you can't maybe see my lines here. I've used a water-soluble color pencil and like a rose color. And I'm just looking at where that vase and the flowers are. I'm doing kind of a blind contour, I guess, in a way. I don't think I'm going to do the square bit, like that this flower vase is on. I don't think that'll translate well. So I'm just going to make a line, the foreground and back of that kind of. I'm just going to make it a table. We'll see. It might just have a lost edge to it. So very, very simple.
Okay.
Hardly there. And I'm not going to make any marks for the shadow. This is just so that I know I'm going to get that on the page, and that's where it is. Recently I had my credit card up, they sent you a new one, and then I cut it and I threw it in the garbage, and I ran back and I pulled it out and said, hey, no, now I have a credit card for my tools stash. Yes. And I'll demonstrate the first part. Just talking about which color value to choose and how to approach going in. I actually had my palettes ready to clean. Like they were set aside to clean, but I guess I'm not ready to clean them. So I apologize. I've always been like this. This is one of those studio habits you can't break out of. Not easily, anyway. So I'm taking some yellow ochre and then some brown, whatever brown you have. And I'm tinting, or I'm toning. I'm not lightening it. So I'm toning it, darken it up, making it more of a neutral. It's certainly not black. So this is where when we have out our reference and then these two, the no tan just is there to remind us if we ever get lost in our values, but it's certainly not black. So I'm looking at what is the darkest thing. It's what the vase is sitting on. And that's nice because it anchors. There's a little bit of reflection and interruption in it. So it's not like a purely black, dark space. But the shadow is the next dark. So I do want to kick that up into a nice deep tone. Might need, yeah, a bit of, oh, that was sap green, but that's nice. Ooh, sap green mass tone looks black. So I'm going to start with that. I can always adjust it. I'm using a really, really big brush. And I'm going to come in and start to lay in the groundwork for this shadow. Reacting to the paper. This is the top of this flower, then the shadow comes kind of on a skewed, nicely skewed angle here. Because so you end up having a shape, and as we have learned with playing, just I'm going to use a tool to, like, as I have paint there that I can move around. Yeah, just kind of dragging it into some new spaces for it, softening some edges, just scraping it. I'm going to also put, okay, you know what? I thought I had put out sepia, but I did not. So I mixed that with, oh no, I had. Never mind. I just used it all up. I'm going to come in with some more of that brown because this feels really green because I put sap green in there. And I'm just going to tickle that around, make it kind of a dry brush in there, actually. Oh, this paper is pulling up like Kleenex. Interesting. Okay, maybe I forgot that. That's why I haven't been using it. And then there's kind of like added just a little bit of magenta and a white to pull in
Ooh.
the wall on the right. And there's some beautiful transitions in there. So dropping in this area. Get in there. And then I am, gonna, even at this stage, choose like a little bit of a smaller brush, kind of making a bit of a muted orange. So and then creating a bit of a painterly transition. Let's bring this a little closer. Looking at these areas in here. And how they blend. It's an optical blend. So once I meet a wet and wet, I can use my tools to help create more of a transition. And it might seem messy at first, but actually, again, we're not tool painting. So we want it to be loose at this stage. And any kind of marks that are made that you like, you can leave, It's a good opportunity to get into that impressionistic stroke or using your, like I love using my brushes on the side, like absolutely flush to the paper. The effects that I get out of that are really quite nice and pleasing to me. And then where else can we use that color since it's already mixed? The wall on the other side of that window reflection. So the left side. And there is, because of the light, any area really close to it would have a little bit higher chroma. So I'm just dropping in the tiniest bit of like a yellow ochre into the color. So it's light, but it's still kind of got this intensity. And then gradually making that darker. As I bring in that wall color on the left, especially, I can really see where the flower edge is. It's a hard edge. So this is almost like painting around flower, like a contour. I'm using a bit of a darker, well, it's the same brown I've been mixing. And creating like hard edged shape. create that left flower. Oh yeah, like it's amazing. Using a tool just to like pat out brush stroke. Love it.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Um, don't be offended, but could you stop for a little bit so that I can catch up?
Sure.
Because
I thought about it, Brenda. I honestly, I'm not offended at all. Yesterday's class asked the same, and that's just totally fine. It just, I need a little bit of feedback as to like put your brush up or take yourself off mute and let me know when you have caught up, so I know. That's all.
yeah, because I'll forget what you did if you go too far.
Yep. Fair, very fair. I'll stop here.
So, okay, thank you very much.
Oh dear.
Was that an oh dear? Would something
Well, it wasn't, oh dear. So I was mixing to get the brownie muddy magenta and I got something kind of strawberry, which wasn't what I was going for. Brown, any more brown?
Yeah, truly, when I was first putting these mixed colors down, I thought they're hideous. And, in my mind, I'm like, that's okay. We can layer and change them and, dry brush into them. And then now I'm like, no, I like it. So it's a funny thing how a color can be hideous when you're expecting something different.
This is kind of like sick pink.
Oh.
And I don't think it belongs anywhere. That's getting better.
I don't think I'll need it, but I will just say that for a recommendation in a toolkit, neutral gray is phenomenal, and every brand makes it now. So if you ever make a color and it's like in the family you want, like the hue's right, but it's to this or to that, adding a touch of that neutral gray can really kind of help you get out of it if like you're going for these neutral tones. But I haven't put it out because it does. I actually feel there's a lot of color in this piece. And yeah.
Okay. It's happening. Now it's happening.
I'm so glad recently I bought burnt umber. And it was for like all the master classes. Because sepia is expensive. It's my go-to brown. So is transparent brown. But I've changed over the years. And I might get back into some glazing because I was looking at some older works today and I thought, wow, it's been a long time since I've done that technique. But sepia is very green. I mean, it is one of the colors that make it. And so on my end, when I'm mixing my colors, like I'm adding green into things by using this. So it's really, it's a beautiful color, but it's really not what I should be using today. Oh, well.
The shoulds.
Good.
Violet with the shoulds.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Shoulda, woulda. What if I had done
No, I read recently that Dr. Seuss, his name is actually pronounced Seuss.
How can it be?
I know. Dr. Seuss. But nobody called him that. Everyone called him Seuss. Like even while he was alive.
Okay. Yeah, a bit of that.
That's nice. Oh.
Almost did it. Okay, I'm pretty much caught up.
Cool. So what we'll do next, when everyone gives me a status, is I'll ask that you let me get, a couple minutes of a demo for you where you watch, and then I'll again give you the time to do it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you do a shadow, do you make it pretty much a block? Or are there variations within?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, there's reflected light. So no solid color.
So it's not just a block.
No. I'll make some stars on here. Here.
Yeah.
This is the biggest one where the light's being affected. Like it's merging into the shadow.
Right.
And all along this side. Usually the light on the object has that's where the reflected light is actually. So in the shadow, you have the diffused areas where the light and the dark meet, and then how much that's blown out. And so that's where we get into softer edges of transition. And then there might be a halo inside, a glow.
Yeah. So at first what you see is just a block of dark. but as you explore it a little bit further, you can see.
And you do have to map it out in that simple shape to start.
Yeah.
I'm just making my colorless green. I'm just pickling around. Well, I chose the worst surface.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful paper, but not good for this. I don't even know what it would be good for. I'm gonna have to prime it, I think. I think this is like, I got this maybe way back at Curry's, and trying to, like, I have a ongoing art store shopping list, which drives me nuts. I almost weekly have to add something to it. So every time I go to the art store, it's like minimum $300. So when it comes to what I'm trying to use what I have, like when I can, even if it's not advisable. Here's what not to use. No, I think my shadow is too dark, but that's okay. It's all good. Relative, getting something down is what's important. And even trying to make a color and regretting, like not regretting it, but then saying, no, that's not right. You have to kind of make that leap to be able to say, oh no, I would like to change that. So it's never a bad thing. Just spreading this more neutral color around so that it looks intentional. That's all I'm doing. I think when you do work with paper that's doing like what's happening, I don't think it'll capture on camera, but this paper is basically piling. There's little, it's like painting on Kleenex or paper towel. But as soon as the acrylic dries, it'll be fine, and building up layers, it'll work better.
Sharlena, I just want to let you know that I think I'm caught up.
Fabulous. Thank you. I
Just
think
let
Carol,
you know.
thank you. Laura, do you think we could go ahead?
Yes.
Fabulous.
Yes, I'm just got caught up.
Super. So I had danced some of that color just in the bottom, okay, just because to use up the paint, and you know, this sort of mottled area is mostly light anyway. Getting in our darks is important, though. I think it makes a lot more sense, and this applies to, like, I guess, acrylics and oils, to putting in your highlights and fusing them like with a dry brush into the darks. So just staying with the darks for now. I've brought in a brown mixed with a Payne's gray. It can be black. It's just not pure black. I just want it to be really dark. Just gonna make that table, and in a way, so just kind of watch before you get into it. I'm coming in to where things are diffused. I'm gonna place some paint underneath that vase, and then pull it down to get a distressed vibe. So it's still really messy at this stage, intentionally so. So coming from the left and over to the left wall to the left of the vase, and letting your brush skip. I'm going to go right to these little deckled edges here. And then that tool isn't quite working well on this paper, so I'm just going to take some water and bring it in and hydrate to get a more diffused. It's like filled in, but that's the table. Just to start, I'm just going to drop in a bit more dark on the left there. I'm looking at the shape of the base. It is round, so I'm just going to carve. I'm just using my brush to tickle in. And because this will be the darkest area of the whole thing, it may be that we'll have to come back here and adjust, more than likely, at the very end, to just make sure that it has that weight, that valued weight. But for now, it's currently the darkest thing.
Sharlena, you want us to do this along with you or just watch you and then do it?
I think just, okay, there's just one more thing of this, and then yeah, you go ahead and do this part. So with that same color from the table, I mean, I guess this is a wall shelf or something. From the corner, the right upper corner, I'm just going to bring that brush and stroke it into the shadow, because there is a dark reflected line, like it's the darkest shadow possible. So just bringing that slightly in and distressing that, with a tool or a rag. And that really gives us some grounding. And yeah, you can go ahead and do that part, because then the next part will be the lights. Show this a little bit closer. I have so many lights on in the studio, which is fantastic on one end for recording, but it also with acrylics is just like, here's the sheen, here's the gloss. And that line should fade into the shadow. It shouldn't actually be like a solid line. So I'm gonna use a tool here and really scrape some cross hatches to distress that. Maybe even that. I'm gonna use this board underneath. Yeah, that's better. But remember, nothing has to be, the transitions or anything has to be done yet. This is, blocking in. So there will be adjustments. Our next stage is highlights. I think we should be good to go with that.
I'm good.
Just give me a little nod. Yes. Yeah.
Good, good,
Okay.
good.
I've put out unbleached titanium. If you don't have that, you can use white with a little bit of yellow and brown. It's a neutral peachy color, but I mean, you can have fun with that, right? We just need lights. So you can have yours like a light yellow. It's totally up to you. I have more of a this is yellow ochre and unbleached titanium here, and then I also had added the tiniest bit of magenta just to get like a more of a peachy, and then I have unbleached and titanium, and then titanium white, so a real light. So I'm not using any pure white, but I definitely have a variety of lights here to dance around, to dance my brush around in the light. I've also chosen a brush, which I do recommend a brush for this, and incorporating the tools into the process. But I've used a brush that I know I can get into these areas, and it can be any shape, but you sort of want to match it because these two rectangular areas can be easily done if you have the right size of brush. So I'm just coming in here, and I would suggest to just watch this part. Coming in. There are some soft edges here, so I'll use a tool. So I'm bringing in the paint, transitioning it into, and I'm just going to scrape. I'm quite loving this. Thank you, Capital One. So that kind of scrape is a really nice transition.
Uh-huh.
And I can leave that. I don't have to even do anything. Perhaps, it can wipe, and like a damp rag is also a fantastic tool. Please don't ever forget about a rag being a tool. It's not just to clean your brushes. So you can soften out an edge using a damp rag as well. Okay, so I have an extra light area here that I put in. I'm going to keep it. I quite like it. I'm going to work with it. And if it doesn't work in the end, then I'll get rid of it. Okay, so where next? A little bit here on the side, just sort of looking at the edges. So all the way up here. This is a hard edge on the left, so I can leave that. Again, considering where the flowers are. And then there's one of my favorite parts of this piece in this top shape.
Okay.
Bringing in some into the wet and wet, some pure white in there. There's some nice dancing light up in there, so impressionist strokes all the way, please. There's also a nice indication of like possibly the lines in the window. If not, if you don't see that, that's fine, but I'm going to maybe push that in mind a bit and have sections here. And then this is the fun part. I'm looking at this shadow above the yellow rose. I think they're roses. Anyways, it's very high in chroma, and yet it's not light nor dark. So I'm going to use that the yellow ochre. mixed in with that background color and use that to edge, knowing that the flower is actually underneath it. And that somewhat comes to this dark bit here. So then I'll continue to fill that in, and it's a hard edge again. Using your brush to create hard edges is to make an overlap. You want to come in over the darks that we built. And then at this edge, it's a very soft edge with somewhat, and it could be the ink or the like pixels of the image, but there does seem to be, again, that high chroma of yellow here at the edge. So I'm going to tickle that. And I'll do a little bit of a close up here so you can just blend that a little bit more. Yeah.
All right.
So lots of hard edges over the shadow, over the flowers, but a soft edge where it meets the right wall. Now, I'll definitely take your request on this one. It's repeating this in the bottom half. Would you like me to do that now?
I could use a minute.
Yeah. Okay. Good. This is great. No, I really do appreciate knowing what is best for you as a group, you know? Maybe that's better. Yeah, I think that's better. I'll just turn off one of my lights. It just seemed like so much glare. There still is, but there. Try and train yourself to really be looking at your no tan just as much as the color reference. It will really help to solidify in your mind that that upper wall above everything is the lightest. And so, you know, I came in with like just pure white, sort of adding it in. And then again, it's not pure white on the paper, but you just can't be light enough. And I did bring in some, again, little touches with the smaller filbert to just, again, accent what I had done in the last stage of the demo so far, and then just added a little touch of white here and there, especially on the hard edges. And that's these guys. There's also a little bright white here on the corner, right here. Those can be done after as well, but just pointing them out now. So I don't forget. So many things. I leave a class and I'm like, oh man, I hope I said that. I hope I remembered that thing. That was really important.
We're leaving around 12, right?
The class goes to 12, yeah.
I don't know anyone else, but I'm ready to move on.
I would like to.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so same color palette. So, you know, using the light neutrals. And what I think is going to be really fun is doing the negative space within the flowers. But for efficiency's sake, just coming in, working it up into the lower left and then the side stripe that still needs to be finished there. And so there's a lot of the lightest, so it would be white and your off-white. And there is a soft diffusion on the table, so you can do a little dry brush into that. You're not trying to cover up the table, just diffuse. So just take a break, and I won't go too far to lose you. But when we get into this area, you need to also think about those leaves. So I'm just making space. The leaves can come up in and around, like the paint, over the paint. But I think it's really nice to work with the negative space and actually leave the space for the leaves. Even if it's not the right count or enough is fine. It's not as light here, which I just, so I'll just scrape that back actually with a card. Yeah. See? Haha. You need to freak out and get a brush. Love that. Going to create a subtle edge. That's a little too dark. So again, just going to scrape that up. Love. This is the brown and yellow ochre and kind of dancing in and around the light down here. I didn't put enough paint, so I'm just bringing in some more. And then almost like, oh, no hair. Ugh, gross. It's been everywhere today. It was in my breakfast. So there's a wonderful softness in this bottom area. So you can play with scumbling. It's holding your brush in a way where you're moving it very, very quickly and kind of perpendicular to the page. And if that doesn't feel like it's giving you the effect that you want, then you can come in and do a bit of a wet and wet situation. So as you bring your maybe shadow, if you had done that, if it's dry, you can still bring in similar colors into the light areas and pat over it to get a nice softness. There's a lot of underwatery sort of effects of the light dancing in here, but the key is the soft transitions. So there's no hard edges at all. Depending on your paper surface, you may find a tool to be really helpful or a rag. I'm finding the dry brushing to be good. There's that nice yellow glow under here. So that's where the light is hitting the brightest. So that to me really makes an impact, that higher chroma glow of the yellow. It's quite lovely. And then you might notice some other areas where you like that on that right-hand side. And then the last part of the background area is within. So this side. And listen, I understand it is tricky to like work negatively around leaves, but just give it a shot. It's the only way to learn. It's just to try to do it. And if it doesn't work out, you can put in the leaves on top of your paint. It's totally fine. So you get 2 chances. And so this is a great example of like a hard edge here, moving into a soft edge. So really clean line, using your brush to help you with that. I quite love flats to get a line. And then to scumble and scratch up into this area of the shadow and really let that be diffused. I actually don't have enough shadow in there, so that's something I'll have to put in. But I'm going to, again, just make an effort to put in some of these areas between the stems. It does not have to be perfect. It's just kind of giving you a sense of, oh.
Wait a second.
That these are shapes. Possibly will really help render something interesting and lovely for your piece instead of trying to replicate every single leaf. So, you know, when I say it doesn't have to be perfect, something like this, I'll more than likely follow more than the reference photo. There's not much transitions in those spaces, but there are some really light areas. So I'll just come in with some pure white and like tickle that in. And I'm going to establish that shadow that I was missing, which is here. Not missing, it's not enough. I would like some more, please. Now that I have that on my brush, the last thing I'll do at this stage of the demo is just to point out again the no tan and to take a moment and really look now at your shapes individually and just take your eye, go around and say, for example, this line that I have seems a little too dark because it's in the light. So I'm just going to take that kind of color I did for the shadow. It's not as dark as this, and I'm just going to tickle it in there just slightly. So it's still there. It's just not as dark. And then it really helps with that illusion of light diffusion. So that's what this no tan helps with. Also really helps with edges because it shows you that diffused pixel spreading out. So that should take care of all the space around. Carol, I think when you walked out, I think what I was working on was in here.
Oh, yes, yes.
And then since then, I've just been tinkering and tickling and to everything else. I haven't added anything. And this is not a race or anything, but for just getting everything on demo, I'm going to say that at least in 10 minutes that I should continue to show the positive space of the vase and flowers, okay? The most, anyway. So if you're done sooner, please let me know.
I'm not quite sure. I understand that last comment, but I'm ready if that's what you were asking.
Yes, that is, that if you're done sooner, let me know. Thank you.
But I'm only one person. I'm just letting you know.
I'm going to work with, so whenever Laura, when you give me the green light, then we'll move ahead, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good. You can go ahead. Yep. Thanks.
Well, I know, Carol, you're quick. And you're...
Yeah, but I'm also realizing it's my actual flowers before the shadows is way too big.
Yeah.
So when I sketched it out, I made it the big thing. So then everything else is probably way out of balance. But
so could we? Can we use that as a moment to inspire us all? Just grab another piece of surface and tape it on.
Yeah.
And go right off the page.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will continue. I know, I mean, you're all kind of used to the flowers by now since we focused on that for a month. And my hope at this stage is that your background will inform how you go into this space now. Whereas when you start with the vase and the flowers, you can, really lose yourself, get, the biggest comment that I get from most people is that they're so, stuck on the details and the realism. So at this stage, no matter the proportions, I feel that this has to remain quite simple because the background is exciting. Now I want color in here. That's going to be my number one. I'm going to switch my brushes out, going for something a little bit more appropriate in size. So I'm grabbing a filbert here. It's probably a number 6. And I just need to freshen up my yellow ochre. Also going to put out some sap green, some green gold. So sort of like a double, light and dark. You can always just use yellow to lighten. I'm going to put out yellow as well. And I have magenta. And then I have some blue out, which is just fun. And I think using tools to do the vase would be quite fun. And so why don't we start there? All right. Which tool to use? That's the question. Again, appropriate size tool or something that you feel you have control over. I'm going to pull my palette just a little bit closer. This is this is ultramarine blue that I put out. I'm also going to tint to have, oh, I got some green in there. Okay, that's fun. That's fine. That's fine. So I've got like a light blue and then pure blue, and I'm going to take a smaller tool because on the light side, so we know the light source is over on the left, I'm going to pull up that cool little pattern. I don't even need white paint yet. I mean, if your surface is white, you don't even need white paint. I'm going to leave the paper. You could play so many different ways with like how to put the pattern in. If negative space is a problem for you, you could get all tiny brush and work around. So using a tool really loosens up because I'm not trying to get these. I mean, that's a handmade vase anyway, which is great, right? So let's go of helps you to let go a little bit. I'm gonna maybe throw some cobalt teal in there just for that side. Well, it's a little bright, but that's okay. This is a rubber tipped color shaper. I quite like it. It's a teeny tiny one. You do not grab it much, so I'm very happy with all of our tool explorations and just being reminded of some fun stuff that we have we don't use anymore or arrives in the mail. Oh, here. Now there is a shadow, and again, you can put that in first, or you can put it in, you can like put in the blue dots, let it dry, and then do the shadow after. Just for the sake of not having to do all of the little dots right now, I'm just going to put it in. So it would be like in the Payne's Gray family, but because I haven't used much Payne's Gray in the piece, I'm going to mix it with the brown that I've been using so that on this right side of the vase, I can pull up. And it is a very soft transition. So I'm going to then use a clean brush, it's fairly dry, and scuff. Okay. I haven't done all of the little dots or whatnot, but you got your shadow side and it's very distressed. Is that focusing there? Yeah. Well, it's distressed just enough. There actually is a hard line because I think that vase has an edge to it, like it's a hand thrown one. Okay. Now getting into the petals. No, the leaves. Let's do the leaves. So I've got my sap green. which is way too bright. Usually greens right out of the jar are not that useful. I mean, they're garish. Even the nicest, chrome oxide and sap tend to be really beautiful. So however you can knock that back. I think in the shadow area, this looks black, but it's sap. I'm going to throw in that brown that I've been using. That gives me a nice, variation of the sap. And then on the light side, it looks like it's really, I think this photo has been affected. Like, I'm pretty sure of it. So using a bit of a gray, just to tone it down. It's not like you want it to be minty, but that feels nice. Something that goes with the palette that you're happy with. And then coming in, I'm going to do, no, I do not like that green. Sorry. Blech. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to show what this neutral gray can do, because I think that'll do the trick. Yeah. Yeah, that's better. And I'm going to, I'm actually using the brush that I've been using the whole way through, and coming in, letting those leaves come in over the vase as well. You don't have to stay in your negative space anymore. It's okay. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, of being inspired by your environment. And instead of doing stems that are completely straight, scuffing them in like this feels right with everything else. So I'm just kind of going with my negative space bits. And I'm going to fill in this vase just with that green to start. There's these little leaves over here. This is not the brush like that I would choose to do leaves, but that's kind of a good challenge. And there's definitely interference. There's like little bits hanging out. You don't have to do them all to start. But then I am going to take a different brush here. I'm going to take that really dark green and I'm going to focus just on the right side. I'm not trying to like make sure I get the dark side of the leaf. I'm just adding in dark in and around those leaves. And if we have enough darks on the rights and then just a touch on the left, all of that lighting care work we did in and around should help speak to all of those like realistic properties that we tend to look for, not just in our own work, but in other people's work. Oh, I'm falling asleep. Well, like something like so. And then you can have like a couple more highlights or whatnot over on this side, but that's the realism that I'm hoping satisfies you and pleases you. And it's not just, you know, because the flowers, right? I mean, I'm feeling really tickled personally. Do you want me to stop there? Just give me a nod. Up and down or side to side.
Well, we're sort of running out of time, aren't we? So
Uh-huh.
maybe continue on. But again, that's just my opinion. I'm not speaking for everyone, of course.
You can keep going as far as I care.
Yeah. Okay. It's
You
okay.
can always watch the video and, you know.
I think if you got to this, like just the environment stage, I think this is going to be quick for you. So if you at least know how I do it, then you will be guided by your work and the time that you have. So I'm going to keep going. Okay.
Okay.
So taking into consideration some of the tools to do petals, okay, so the same idea with the leaves. I'm going to go in with like the mid-tone of color, but I am going to use, perhaps, I actually found this tool last week to be really great. I could draw with it as well, so that's my Betty Crocker. So I'm going to mix quinacridone magenta with that, a little bit of that neutral gray. It is such a wonderful, easy way to tone something down because magenta is like ridiculously powerful. And I'm still getting a beautiful, vibrant, and I think that's really quite nice. Okay. So I'm going to come in and start to sketch. So that's how it feels to me.
Ah,
I can actually come in, can I come in closer? No, that's as close as I can get. Okay, sorry. Just thought I'd try. All right. And if there's areas that, like, say I missed and I need to put more leaves in, then I'll just, like, right here, I'll leave that. So I'm not trying to make odd shaped flowers to fit the space. I now know how I mix that color. You've done it a few times. And it's actually really good. I don't think I say this enough. Try your best not to mix big pots of color. It is absolutely better to try and mix it again. It's so good for all reasons. If you get it right, that's great. Then you're like really understanding your mixing. And mixing is by the way, it's mostly light and dark and then temperature. So if you're ever mixing a color and you're like, oh, that's too, ask yourself, what is it? Is it too warm, too cool, too light, too dark? But anyway, even if you don't get the mix right, that's better. Seriously. When I was doing events, those big collaborative events, my very first one, I pre-mixed all the colors. And I mean, the painting worked out. It was great. But I did it one more time, but it was never as good as when I actually just put out color and let people sort of mix. And I had a palette, but I wasn't pre-mixing it for them. So in all situations, I found it to be better. But it's how I learned how to color mix is to, okay, I would like that again. What color's on my table? How do I get that? So while that's wet and that's my mid-tone, I'm going to come in. I'm just going to add some unbleached titanium to that color that I mixed. I'm going to come in with the highlight and start to scribble in on the left side of those roses. Again, I'm going to just do a little close up here. So that's my highlight. No individual petals. No need. Do a couple of little bits to transition to the right side. This guy's got a lot of shadow in it, so it's just a couple of, just a couple. And then I'll take that same mixture and I'll add more brown to it. Or actually, I could probably, no, I can't use pure quinacridone. It's way too bright. Just a teeny bit of Payne's Gray, I guess. And then come in, and it's the same, a couple of tickles to get your shadows. And there are two of them especially more dark in the center. There. Look like roses?
Oh, wow. Wow.
You could title it Roses in a Vase, or if someone said, oh, those are the most prettiest carnations I've ever seen, you can just say thank you. Like, who cares? So it'll be the same for the yellow ochre. I'm just gonna put down pure yellow ochre, even though they're really light, but just to get some sort of base. And then I'll add white for the lights, and then more likely brown for the darks. Because if you add black, you'll just get green. Where's my brown? There's not much dark on this guy, so I'm just, since I had it on my, yeah, so then bringing in the white, just dipping same into that tool and drawing, kind of like this was the hard edge one, so you can actually draw little petals, or I'm just kind of scraping through paint as well. I am looking at the reference photo, back and forth to the work. And then the question at some point is like, you do want to
just make a Friday. No,
you don't want to stop quite a lot, because like I'm stopping to look at both, but then also just to look at this, because it's like you don't need much. It's the impression that we're looking for. And at that point, I would walk away and then maybe come back and limit myself to either a tool or making a plan and saying, these are the 2 or 3 things that I really think I need to do to tie this together to be happy with it, and just really not overworking it. Because if you start to fiddle back in here, then I'll see you next year, which I hope to as well. I'm going to remove my spotlight. You guys, I'm going to take a photo of this. I will definitely aim to send this out as soon as possible. As soon as the Zoom sends me the recording has been processed, I will Try and take out the long breaks and just condense so the video time will be less than 2 hours, but it's just so simply that when you're looking back, you're not having to like fast forward and scroll yourself. It's not that difficult for me to like take out chunks. Yeah. Is that good? Is that good? Are you guys happy? This is a very different experience with like mostly mute and then no video. So it's okay. I don't mind.
That was a class and a half. There was a lot to take in, and I got stuck. And so I will go back and watch the demonstration.
Did you get stuck on the lights? Like where the light?
I'll just hold up.
Yeah, like can we share before we go? Please, please, please. Oh, yeah.
So I got stuck down here, and I don't know, it was muddy, and I didn't have the right, this wasn't matching with that. And so I got stuck there and didn't get to follow the.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you, or I'm hope that you leave that bottom. It's very nice.
Is it okay the way it is?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then I will leave it because I completely don't know what to do with that now.
It's all there to me. I see.
You think?
Yeah, yeah. If like the thing is about this piece is that's all wall as well. And then I think that's like, you know, those shelves that hang on without hinges.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
If that shelf for any reason you need to like treat it so that it makes more sense to you, I get it.
Yeah.
You could again, it's just the impression or the like slight insinuation of something.
Soften this edge? Oh no.
No, but I think you might need to make the face view edge of it.
Okay.
That's the only thing that occurred to my mind is that now that you've kind of taken that corner off.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's okay. To me, it actually looks like the full table. There's nothing wrong with that. So you can either go with the photo and soften the shadow part, but I wouldn't. I would just make that the table and like give the face front part of it. Does anyone else have a 2 cents to add to that?
So just carry this.
Yeah.
Along. So, and this just a touch lighter than the top. Okay.
Great. I think that's fantastic.
Well, we'll keep going. Like I said, I got stuck, so I wasn't able to follow the flower and the pot, but I, like you said, the video will be perfect.
Yeah.
I'll do it lickety splitty. Anyone else want to share before, or you can reply to the email that I sent you if you want to share with the group, because it's really nice to know what we've all done. You can always take a picture of it at the when you're done, and then say, "Here's my work," and reply all.
Yeah.
As an invitation. That seems to be working really well for other classes, so I invite you to do the same. Does anyone else want to share where you're at now, or? Okay, sounds good. You guys, this has been awesome. You really make me want to paint flowers more and more and more. And I thought I was done with it, but I'm not. I'm obsessed. And I think the tools for me have been the biggest inspiration of everything. Any other, like, ooh, I'm taking this with me?
Yeah, it's pushed me in the direction I wanted to go, and I couldn't get there by myself. So the exploration, don't worry about what, just go and not be so afraid, right? So I think I've finally given myself permission to
Okay.
be a little freer with what I'm doing. Yeah, and I'm really pleased. I'm really excited. Pleased isn't the word, but excited that I could let myself do this without having to keep going and making it perfect. And the edges and putting in the petal, and no, that petal isn't quite right, and the petal is like this fraction of what the painting is. So I'm really excited about what we've been doing.
Good. That is what I wanted for this last project. Whatever it was about, I thought shadows really made a lot of sense, but I really wanted it to be like, you know, it even last week when we were doing imaginary flowers, it's not always about the flowers, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's wonderful to hear. Brenda, did you want to say anything? Or no?
I'm not sure if I'm still muted. Let me see.
No, I can hear you.
Well, it's quite hideous.
That's bad.
Yeah, but yeah, it was fun. It was fun to spend an hour doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is quite hideous.
Mm.
The challenge was not to make a beautiful painting. I don't think that was the project at all. And then also sleep on it, okay? Because you do beautiful work.
Well, I can go back to it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the crop. Commenting on your paper, I was doing acrylic on watercolor paper, and it really it just sinks right in and dries immediately. So you can't really move it. You can't blend the colors to get those soft edges because it's just dry immediately. So I should have used a gesso panel.
Or layers. So actually coming back and doing that second pass is going to feel better.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Or I could have just gessoed the paper.
The gesso does seem to be on my mind for this paper as well. So yeah, I get it. I do like providing like that freedom to like put your stuff together and learn from it.
Yes. Yeah.
But I also am recognizing that, again, this is kind of what I said at the beginning, is it's possible in the fall and me putting together, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is the class. This is what you need. Simply because I'm looking back, like I'm doing like a retrospective, not intentionally, but, and I'm, you know, I've done thousands of classes now. I at one point I could say 100 or dozens and then hundreds, and I know it's thousands.
Right.
It's just Zoom alone is like up to 400.
Wow.
And that's not including what's been in person. So reviewing projects that really worked out well, which is another reason I like seeing everyone's work at the end, because then I can really tell, okay, that hit a mark, you know, or that actually no one really got it.
Yeah.
Neither did I. My demo sucked. Like, you know, there's something really good about having that visual result in the end. So I do feel like I'm guided with that reflection to being a little more stricter. Oh, I can do it. I can do it. Hey, Carol, would you like to share before we go?
Oh, I'm not sure what to say because I found I got off balance at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think it would have maybe been easier if I'd had a bigger piece of paper. So there'd been more space to move with a bigger brush. And yeah, I mean, as I said, the flowers are bigger than the shadows.
Yes.
And the shadows are what we were focusing on.
Yes.
So if I was to go in and do it again, I try to make those shadows much, much bigger. But
yes, I see that. Well, I mean, you got it. It's just the format of the papers and
and also I should have made the flowers smaller.
Or done it horizontally, like landscape instead.
No, that's a portrait.
No, I mean, if you had done it landscape, you would have had.
I would have been forced to.
One side for flowers, one side for shadows. Yeah.
But
fair enough. Totally fair. Laura, do you want to share before we go?
No, mine is taped down, but I got really confused starting with the shadows first. So I can see, like, now I'm starting to see, like, oh, I should have done this. You know, so I want to redo.
Okay.
Yes.
This was very, very good. Very, a lot of learning here.
Yeah.
I love the redos. I love the learning. I think we can retitle this whole class Fearless Wilds.
Yeah.
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 Okay. The Unbound bouquet, you are also fabulous. I adore you. And I will see you when it works for you. You hit me up if I'm doing something that I can bring you along to do, or just say hi sometime.
Awesome.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Sharlena.
Thanks, Sharlena.
You're awesome.
How are you? Love you guys.